let's go check on the crops. I guess you guys probably haven't seen much of our crops since we planted them. You've seen them a little bit while we've been spraying. So this video is kind of spur of the moment. All I've got is my phone. I don't even have the holder thing to hold my phone. So I just wanted to come out and do a quick video, give a little update on how the crop's doing. I'll go around, kind of show you some of the first stuff we planted and then some of the last stuff we planted. Then we'll check out the beans and just kind of give you an update so you guys can see what's going on here in central Illinois. This field was, I guess it was all planted late because it's just been a late year, but this corn was planted around June 3rd or 4th, something like that. Our first corn was planted on May 16th. But overall, this corn looks really good. It's just starting to tassel. We got a few tassels coming out. Got some silks down here. One issue we had on this farm is we had one of the drive chains on the planter came off on one side, so half the planter was skipping, and you can see these big skips. Thankfully, I caught it. I think I made it around the field once while it was doing it, and then I caught it and fixed the problem, so the rest of the field's fine. The only crappy part is it's right by the road where everyone can see it, but it's just how it goes. But as you can see, this corn, I'm just on the edge, so hard to tell the whole field from just the edge, but this corn looks really good. It's got a nice dark green color. Overall, it just looks really good for as late as it was planted. This is some of the corn we no-tilled into bean stubble. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's got a real nice, even level stand across the top. And that's one thing that I've noticed whenever we no-till corn. Most of our corn was conventional tillage, and it's just up and down. You can tell where there was water sitting and where it was dry, and this field is just a lot more even. That nice even corn, I think, is just another good benefit of no-till, and that's kind of the way we're going. I'll take you over to some of the first corn we planted. All right, so I'm standing on top of the Rhino just so I can get up and show you what these crops look like. This corn right behind me around Dad's house, this was one of the first fields we planted back on May 16th, and most of it has started to tassel. This field is one that we actually got rained out on, so we planted some of it on the 16th, and then we didn't get back into it till June 2nd. So you can see these spots out in the middle where there's not as much tassels. That was planted later, and the outside of this field was planted earlier. But this is just one of those fields that we just kind of had to deal with this year. For a while, it just would not stop raining, and we just kind of had to do what we needed to do. But this corn, other than it being pretty uneven, it doesn't look too bad. This is kind of a wet field. It sat with water on it for a long time, and then it finally started to drain. So this field right here was the very first field that we planted on May 16th. It's tasseled nicely, it's got silks. We also have some sweet corn that got seeded in here where the planter didn't get emptied out all the way. Up there closer to the house, Dad put in 4 rows of sweet corn, and then when the planter got empty, we finished planting the rest of the field corn, but a few sweet corn seeds must have slipped through. Japanese beetles are really liking these silks. They're not really out into the field that much. They're just on the first couple rows, so they shouldn't cause too much damage. So I went and grabbed this ear from a few rows in. That way the Japanese beetles didn't get to the silks. Pollinated very well. It's 16 around. I kind of figured that the ears wouldn't be that big around. Normally we like to see 18 to 20 around, but I kind of figured they wouldn't be as big around just because of the conditions that we were dealing with. If it fills out, it should be pretty decent corn. Sadie found me and she wants to go for a ride. You want to go for a ride? Go on. All right, back up on top of the Rhino again. There's the field I was just at. First field we planted. As you can see, it's all pollinating. Can't really tell now because the whole field's got tassels, but there are a few spots where water sat for a while and it just is a little bit lower. It's just kind of what we're dealing with. This on the other side of the road does not look as good. As you can tell, it's very uneven. This is a spot we had to plant around because it was too wet. when we got in the field. Nice little water hemp patch, but I just sprayed that with 2,4-D today, so they should die. This corn is really short and it's starting to shoot some flag leaves, so it'll be tasseling very soon. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how this turns out just because of how uneven it is. But it's got good color, it looks healthy. All we can do is wait and see what happens. This field of corn was planted on June 2nd. First day we got back in the field after being rained out. It's just starting to tassel. Probably one of our best looking fields of corn. It's nice and even. Got good color, very healthy. It's just overall a really good looking field of corn. Now when I say flag leaf, see this part of the leaf that's kind of sticking straight up? We call that the flag leaf. That just signifies that the tassel will be here shortly. This was the first field of soybeans we planted. I believe they were planted on around June 10th, something like that. These are seed beans. This is one of the seed bean fields we've got. 56 acres here, 80 acres down the road of seed beans. This field, it's getting kind of dark and hard to see, but we had a pretty big mare's tail problem in this field. I don't know if you can still kind of see them scattered out, but since the spring was pushed off so late, we weren't able to use some chemicals that we would have liked to have used to actually kill the mare's tail before we no-tilled these beans in. If we'd have known we were going to have as big a problem with them, we probably would have just went ahead and worked the ground, but it's just one of those things that it happened and there's nothing we can do about it now. But overall, the beans look pretty good. They're still pretty small yet. I'd say on a normal year, the beans are at least twice this tall, but they were just planted late, and overall pretty happy with them. Here's one of the plants. You can see it's got some flowers on it. I got some pretty good nodules on the roots. Those are what produce nitrogen for the soybean plant. We don't have to apply nitrogen on soybeans because they produce their own nitrogen. Like in corn, we use anhydrous, we side dress between the rows. Soybeans, you don't have to do that. Overall, pretty healthy looking soybean plant. They should be pretty decent. Alright, so this is the second field of beans that we planted. These were conventional tillage. These are also seed beans, same exact variety as the last field, but as you can see, they are a little bit farther along. They're a little taller. They're flowering. Got good nodules on the roots. You can see the bugs have started to get to these a little bit. The leaves are kind of getting chewed up. Shouldn't cause too much of a problem. Beans are always growing new leaves, so the more they grow, the more leaves they get, and that's just how they are. The way this year turned out, I'm thinking these conventional tilled beans, we just got them in the ground. They were in a little bit better conditions. They got growing a little faster, and I kind of wish we would have just done that on everything. Normally we no-till beans, we don't have a lot of issues. These beans are a lot cleaner just because we worked the ground ahead of the planter, and that took out most of the weeds. Very good looking field of beans here. Dude, what are you doing in here? That's better. So there you have it, a little crop update for July 30th, 2019. Overall, very pleased with our crops. For a while there, our crops were really looking kind of rough. You know, we weren't proud of what we had to do to get these crops in the ground. It was too wet. It wasn't fit when we planted them, but the market was telling us to plant corn, so we did everything we could to get the corn in the ground. The beans, on the other hand, they were put in kind of late, but not terribly late because beans have a little shorter growing season. So pretty pleased with our crops. There's still a long way to go. it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the summer plays out, because since we pushed our planting dates back, we had to shorten up the growing season a little bit. So there's always that potential for an early frost. We're just hoping and praying that that doesn't happen. We've been pretty fortunate on rains. Hopefully it keeps raining and doesn't go into a dry spell. If we can keep the rains coming, hold the frost off, I think we'll have a pretty good crop. Maybe not as good as last year. Last year was a really good crop for us, well above average, but we're still hoping for a decent crop. This week of weather that we've got coming up is perfect timing. It's supposed to be in the high 70s, low 80s all week, and most of our corn is just starting to pollinate. And corn pollinates a lot better in, cooler temperatures. They still need heat to grow, but if you start pollinating when it's really hot outside, it doesn't pollinate as well. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little crop tour. You know the drill. If you did, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Tell all your friends, tell your family, share this on Facebook. You know the drill. See you next time.